Hello, my name is Nicholas LeBoy,
And this is Malum White.
and our project is going to be on fan attendance to NFL football games. So our research question that we chose was, how do certain factors contribute to the number of fans that attend NFL football games? And the factors that we chose were weather conditions, game time, and team performance, and how they influence fan attendance at NFL games. We thought that understanding these factors would influence fan attendance in the NFL can have significant implications for NFL teams and the league as a whole. By identifying these variables that are most strongly correlated with attendance, teams can use info like this to make strategic decisions about pricing, marketing, and stadium design to maximize revenue and enhance the fan experience. Additionally, the league can use info to make decisions about scheduling and other policies that impact attendance. Most importantly, the statistics that were taken from 21 out of the 32 NFL teams. Those 21 teams all having outdoor stadiums. That way, it ensured an accurate representation of the variables and the data. For our hypothesis, we expected that weather conditions would have a significant impact on fan attendance, with games that are played in extreme temperatures resulting in lower fan attendance. We also anticipated that games played during prime time, which was evening and late afternoon, would have a higher fan attendance. And for teams who are favored to win, the data would show a higher fan attendance as well. For our data description, here's a link to our data. The data was compiled from this website, which contains statistics for every NFL team and every NFL game during the 2021 and 2022 NFL season. The data variables are here as stated. Our response variable was game attendance, continuous numerical response variable, which described the number of fans in attendance at each team's home game, those 21 teams that had outdoor stadiums. One of our explanatory variables was time of game. This was categorized as either afternoon, late afternoon, or evening. Another explanatory variable, categorical, was favored to win, 0 meaning not favored to win, and 1 being favored to win. Our last explanatory variable was weather, continuous. We described it as Fahrenheit, temperature of the game. We had 168 observations for this data.
So here's our linear regression analysis for our data. And the regression equation shows the constant of 67,960 people in attendance. And the equation shows that weather, each 1 degree increase in weather is associated with a minus 44.8 people in attendance. If the team was favored to win, associated with a 1,457 person increase in attendance. The time of game being in the evening was associated with a 920 person increase in attendance. And the time of game being late afternoon was associated with a 4,960 increase in attendance. The team not being favored to win had no association. The time of game being afternoon, no association. And as we can see with the coefficients table, the p-value for weather favored to win and time of game evening, p-value is greater than 0.05, indicating it wasn't statistically significant. The time of the game being late afternoon shows a p-value of 0, which means it was statistically significant. Our explanatory variables, favorite to win, time of game, and weather. So the results, as I said earlier, based on the p-values of less than 0.05 and the magnitude of coefficient for late afternoon games, it's apparent that late afternoon is the only variable that has a significant effect on fan attendance. This observation agrees with our hypothesis that later games would lead to a higher level of fan attendance. For weather and whether or not a team is favored to win, the p-values are greater than 0.05, and the confidence intervals for the coefficients contain 0. This indicates there is no statistical significance between these variables and fan attendance. These outcomes went against our hypothesis. Another variable that went against our hypothesis was the fact that evening games had no effect on fan attendance statistically, only late afternoon games. We expected both of them to lead to an increase in fan attendance. Results continued. Here we have our histogram, which has a clear slight skew to the left. Our scatter plot of residuals versus weather, and another scatter plot of residual versus attendance. As we can see, there's a positive linear relationship in the scatter plot of residual versus attendance, and no real relationship. All the variables seem to be independent in the scatter plot, residual versus weather. All the data plots are independent. So additional analysis. Our scatter plot residuals versus weather shows no correlation between weather and attendance. The data is random and independent. The histogram of frequency versus residuals is roughly unimodal with a slight left skew, but that skew does show that there is a nonlinear relationship between the predictors and response variable. The scatter plot residuals versus attendance is very linear. Lower attendance yielded a lower or more negative residual, while higher attendance yielded more positive residuals.
In conclusion, as seen from the graphs and tables that were constructed and collected from, it was seen that the time of day of when the game is played does have a significant impact on attendance of fans to NFL games, more specifically late afternoon games. We also noticed how weather and who is favored to win is not a good predictor of game attendance. However, having games scheduled during the late afternoon can lead to strategic decisions that can maximize fan attendance and increase revenue for the team and the league. It can still be noted, though, that the results should be interpreted to which other factors were not included in the analysis could also affect fan attendance, and further research may be needed to confirm the findings.